it's Jane here, and welcome to this yin yang class, which means there's a bit of stillness and a bit of moving, and it's all with the Strala yoga moves that we're thinking about. So begin by finding a comfortable place to sit. So you could sit with the legs crossed or outstretched or in any position that you prefer. And then just give yourself that stillness, that time just to be here now in this moment. Just watching your inhales, watching your exhales. Seeing if you can soften the jaw and the shoulders and any other place in your body that might be holding on to a little tension somewhere. And then watching your inhales. Watching your exhales, watching those tiny little pockets of stillness in between the in-breath and the out-breath. And then just allowing yourself, maybe just to think about what it is you would like to pursue in this practice. Are you here for some stillness and quietness? Are you here to find some stretch in your body? Are you here for a bit of me time? Just think about the intention that you'd like to set for your practice. And then we'll come back to that throughout the class. And then when you're ready, take a big inhale, sweep your arms over your head so your palms meet. As you exhale, bring the hands into the heart. Think about that intention. So seal that intention into your heart. And just bowing your head gently, just to make that gesture that you are spending time on you now. And then we'll just place our hands on the floor beside us. And we'll lean over to one side, it doesn't matter which. And maybe we'll just have a little roll around. Maybe we'll just hang here. Maybe we'll move up and down. Maybe we'll place the hand behind the head. We're just going to find a little space on this side and then swap sides. So the same thing here. Just a few little rolls around, or maybe hanging here. And then taking one hand behind the back and then the other hand to the opposite knee for a twist, so you can gaze over the shoulder. And then we'll swap sides nice and slowly. And then we're just going to slowly come back to the center. And we're going to stretch out one leg to the side. Keep one tucked in. So if you've got one leg straight or tucked in, it doesn't matter, but one leg out to the side. Place that hand, same hand as the leg, on the floor and the opposite hand behind the head. And we're just going to enjoy a bit of a longer lateral stretch. So you might want to place something under the knee of the outstretched leg to make it more comfortable. And then breathe nice and deep, making sure that the neck feels comfortable. There's no strain on the neck. And use a big inhale to slowly come out of this shape. And take the hand that is holding the head and place it gently behind your back. And we're going to come into a twist. So the opposite hand on the opposite knee again. And you could gaze over the shoulder behind you. Or if that feels uncomfortable, then just turn the gaze forward. And again, we'll stay here just a little bit longer than we normally would in a flow. Just making our yang a little bit more yin today. So breathing deeply into the belly. And then use an inhale to slowly bring the gaze forward if it's not already. And then we'll just swap sides. So we'll bring that heel in, stretch out the other leg, or if you've taken both legs out, just coming over to one side, maybe placing something under that knee and just finding a space that's comfortable, holding on the back of the head so you've got a little support there, breathing into that side that you're opening up nice and deeply. Keeping those breaths nice and big and deep. And of course, you can breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, or in through the nose and out through the nose. And then we'll just come to that twist. So hand behind the back, opposite hand to opposite knee, gazing over the shoulder or gazing forward. You choose which feels the most at ease for you. And let those breaths be big and full. And then we're going to use an inhale to slowly gaze forward when you're ready. And we're going to take both legs out into a straddle, or dragonfly as it's called in yin. Now don't take the legs as far as they'll go, just bring them in a little more. Soften the knees and just walk the hands forward. And when you found that first stretch, tuck the chin into the chest and just settle here. So you might find in this pose, once you settle in, you can move a little bit further forward with the hands. So just take your time. Breathe nice and deep, making sure that there's no pain, that the breaths are nice and full. Jaws relaxed, shoulders relaxed, backs of the legs are comfortable. Just feeling that gentle opening. And taking one more big inhale to slowly bring you out using the hands. And then move super slow now and find your way to hands and knees. So if you've got any discomfort under the knees, you can always double up the middle of the blanket, pad out the knees a little, that can be quite nice. We're going to do a toe stretch now. So we'll start with option 1. So you can put the hands down or you can put the fists down if the wrists are sore. Tuck the toes under and walk the hands back just until you can find a stretch in the soles of the feet. And we'll take a few deep breaths here. And then you can stay with that one, or you can intensify a little more. Take the hands onto the thighs. And then you can stay here, or if you want to go in the full toe stretch, we stack the shoulders above the hips. It's quite juicy, this one. So make sure that you can breathe full and deep. And then we'll ease off. And we'll stretch out the tops of the ankles now. So you can unfurl that little roll under the middle. And then just give your toes a little tuck and reverse it just to find some chi moving through the feet. Then we'll move into our cow pose. So tuck the toes under, let the belly soften, gaze forward, send the sitting bones behind, relax the shoulders down the back. Few deep breaths here before we move into the cat pose. So taking the tops of the feet down first, move from the middle, chin into the chest, round the back for the stretch of the cat. A few deep breaths here. And then when you're ready, we're going to come into child's pose. So your child's pose might be sitting on the heels, resting the forehead down. You might want to lift the knees up and make a little pillow for the head if it's too intense on the knees to come all the way down. So find a child's pose that suits your body. And then we're going to be here for a little while longer. So the less you can do here, the stiller you are, the deeper you will find the benefits. It's a nice stretch of the back line of the body. So breathe deep into the upper back, the sides of the ribs. Take a few more deep breaths. And then when you're ready, on an inhale, we're going to slowly exit this pose. So take your time. And then find yourself onto your front, however is comfortable to get there. Sphinx pose now. Classic Sphinx pose are the elbows underneath the shoulders, the feet like train tracks, a little way apart. You could make a little shelf for the hands, or if it feels too much for the low back, make a little pillow for the head and just come into a downward facing Makrasana. Or you can take this seal pose where we straighten the arms. I'm going to go for the mid-range, the Sphinx pose, with the elbows under the shoulders, those forearms like train tracks, the legs like train tracks, so they're all parallel, not together. Relax the shoulders. Then you could stay in this, or we could add a half frog by bringing that right knee up to the side, no higher than hip height. So if this feels too much on the hips or the low back, you can just stay in your back bend. But if you want a little added extra, we take this frog pose. A few deep breaths there. This half frog rather than a full frog. And then we can slide that right leg back to meet the left. And we'll do the other side. So take your time. So the left knee comes out, knee no higher than hip height. And just make sure that the lower back is happy, the shoulders are relaxed, the jaw is relaxed. And a few deep breaths here. So your breath is always the guide. If you can't breathe deeply, then come to a shape that you can breathe deeply in. Then we slide both legs back together. And we'll give ourselves a few breaths in Sphinx pose or wherever you choose to be before we come into downward facing Shavasana, where we make a little pillow with the forearms and the hands. And we slowly lower. So I'll meet you there now. Few deep breaths to release any tension. And then an inhale to slowly bring you all the way back to all fours. So slide the hands underneath the shoulders to ease you there. Tuck the toes. Maybe you'd like to just stretch out in a child's pose. Maybe you'd like to take a tabletop pose, or maybe that modified child's pose. Or if you'd like to, come with me to downward dog. Feet hip width apart, hands shoulder width apart, or maybe a little wider. Deep bend in the knees. We can walk the dog. And then maybe you just straighten the legs just a little, add in a micro bend. And then we'll let the head relax and the sitting bones to the sky. And a few deep breaths in this dog pose. So if you've stayed in child's pose, then eventually in a moment we're going to make our way to dangle pose. That's a forward fold or ragdoll, it's sometimes known as. If you're in downward dog, we're going to walk the feet forward and find you here in dangle pose or ragdoll. So if you feel dizzy, put the hands on the forearms on the thighs, bring the head level with the heart. If you're happy to dangle, the arms could be loose, just softening down to the ground, or you could wrap the opposite palm around the opposite elbow. Keep a deep bend in the knees, like the belly soften over the thighs. Relax the head. And then from dangle pose, we're going to go to squat pose. So you can come on the balls of the feet, palms at the heart center. You could, if that makes you feel a little dizzy, come higher, forearms on the thighs. The deepest expression is the soles of the feet down, hands at the heart. Or if any of those feel uncomfortable, we can come into blossoming lotus, where we sit on the floor and take the feet nice and wide and let the head soften. So I'm going to come back to a squat pose. And we're going to be here, wherever you've chosen, for 10 breaths or thereabouts. So quite a juicy pose, juicy hip opener. All of these options, whether it's modified, will give you a hip opener. Hips are where we store quite a lot of tension. So breathe deep and calm. This teaches us to breathe deeply when things get a little bit challenging. So it is a challenging pose. We're nearly there. Soften the face, the jaw. And then we're going to ease into a seated pose for butterfly. So you might want to sit on a blanket for this one, soles of the feet together. You might want to sit up or just let the chin soften to the chest and fold forward. So always making sure that you can still get those full deep breaths. Being aware of all those spaces that get a little more space as you inhale. And as you exhale, allowing those spaces to soften. Inhale, slowly come out. Make your way onto your back. So option 1, cradle pose. So after massaging the low back with some circles, you could place the hands on the shins, or you could place the hands on the thighs, or you could take a happy baby pose. Taking the knees on the outside of the ribs, holding onto the insides or the outsides of the feet, or you could hold on to the calves or the thighs. Trying to keep the chin level with the forehead. Breathing that full deep breath. And this is our last pose before we come into our relaxation. So see if you can make your exhales now maybe 2 counts longer than your inhales. So don't get hung up on counting, but just try and extend your exhales. Prepare yourself for our relaxation. So when you're ready, slowly release. Find your way into a position that's comfortable for you. So it might be flat on the back, arms a little away from the body, feet hip width apart in Shavasana. Or you might prefer to bend the knees, take the feet as wide as the mats and let the knees roll in together, or somewhere else. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable. And just letting go. Now let's begin the relaxation by coming back to that intention. What was it that you brought into the room when you started your yoga class? What is it you wanted from your yoga class? And let's see that we can make this final relaxation, that final part in the jigsaw, that final piece that makes you whole again. Relaxing the mind, relaxing the body by staying still and quiet here for a few minutes. So I'm going to leave you in silence. And if your mind begins to wander, just bring it back to your breath. Slowly now begin to deepen your breath. Maybe adding a little wiggle to your fingers and toes. And before you start to move any other part of your body, just think about the movements. And then maybe you'd like to extend your arms over your head, bringing the feet together. Maybe you just like to stay still for a moment. Maybe you'd like to draw the knees into the chest, wrap the hands around the shin. Do whatever you need to do before you slowly roll over to one side and bring yourself back to a comfortable seated position. Resting the hands gently on the knees or the thighs. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable. As you inhale, slowly sweeping those arms over the head, bring the palms together. As you exhale, hands into the heart. Take a big inhale through the nose, long exhale through the mouth. Coming back to your intention now. When you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you for joining me. See you again soon.